Hans was good.
Hey, how's it going? Oh, it's dark here, isn't it? I don't know if you can see me.
Yeah,
Oh
I
no.
can see you.
Yeah. All right, that's good. Yeah, it's getting dark here. What time is it? 6. It's already getting dark. Winter is
Yeah,
coming.
yeah. What time is it? It's like 6:30, right? Something
Yeah,
like that.
6:05.
Okay.
How about over there?
It's 11:05 in Mexico. I'm in a new place here. Changed the last spot. We're in the mountains again now.
Mountains
The
are
dog
good, right? It's
barking.
good for running.
Yeah, well, near the event I'm supposed to be at the Spartan race, and yeah, there's a bunch of nice running spots. Probably discover a couple of them this weekend. I might actually
Hmm.
go explore a bit later, but yeah, a bunch of parks and mountains. So yeah, that's the cool part of this.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Kind of good. And then you get some high altitude training in as well, or are you not that high?
Yeah. Well, the whole Mexico is pretty high. Generally speaking, like Mexico City and Guadalajara, they're like 2,000 meters of altitude.
Mhm.
I mean, the event will be here, so it's not like it would be if I would go in lower altitudes. But no, it's generally, yeah, good training. I was asking myself actually this question, if I would perform better in colder places, lower
Mhm.
altitude, like in Canada, most probably. But even the last two Ironmans that I did, and one was in Cabo and the other was in Cozumel. These places are kind of low altitude.
Mhm.
I didn't perform that well, especially in the Cozumel one. Cabos was good, but I think it was the humidity factor, being near the sea and the sun.
Mhm.
I mean, I love being hot, like I love going in saunas and all that, but I'm still a Canadian, so not sure if my body's made for that.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? They say the body remembers what they say. I'm not built for the heat. Here in Spain in the summer, I'm suffering. It's too much. Like I enjoy, a casual 25-ish degrees Celsius. That's where I'm at my best, I guess.
Yeah. So today would
Hmm.
be to talk about Lyne. Mostly, I think that will be a very entertaining conversation because last time we discussed about your whole bio, and
Hmm.
yeah, we can take it from there. So
Yeah,
uh,
definitely. Thanks.
last time we discussed, yeah, your biography. I'm gonna merge both of these pod together. Maybe you can
Hmm.
tell us a bit more about Lyne. Okay, so like last time we spoke about your experience, at those leads gen agencies, which was quite entertaining and interesting. Maybe you can
Hmm.
tell us more about like why did you decided to merge from agency to SaaS and Lyne?
Definitely. So, I mean that second. I mean, honestly, it's like the second one is easy to answer and then just makes sense. So it wasn't really like a super conscious decision. Say, okay, you know what? I'm going to stop with agency and I'm going to build a SaaS or I'm going to build a I mean, it's one of those things where if you don't have a lot of experience with it, and then people sell it as as this passive income type thing that it's the new dream, but it doesn't make any sense at all because it's not that passive at all. I can tell you. But the thing is, it's I think how most businesses are born, and it came out of a major pain point, a major issue that I had myself. So I was
Yeah.
running the agency and getting clients and all that. It's not super hard to be honest. And then fulfillment becomes a bit harder. But then once you have your systems in place, okay, what these types of messages they work for these types of clients, and you start then personalizing those messages. That's when you get your results. But that's when you also arrive at one of your biggest bottlenecks that you'll find in your agency is when you have to start hiring a lot of people who then need to produce output always at a certain level, so to say. So you need to make sure that you train your human workforce and that they're reliable and that they deliver on time and that you can then build a business that you can where you can predictably And you can build revenue, you can forecast, okay, this is going to happen if I bring on one client, this is how many emails I send, this is what I can expect, etc. That becomes difficult the more humans are involved, pretty much, and the more different bits are involved there. So that was really frustrating. And honestly, I remember when I first started doing that myself, writing these personalized bits out of emails. So you have your personalized intros, who everyone knows these days, and personalized PS sections, or you personalize maybe just a couple merge text in an email where you're saying, hey, I noticed you worked with client one and client two, which is so stuff like that. And it was flipping horrible. I hated every single second of it. And I remember from day one thinking, man, a robot should and could be doing this. You can just get the data and throw it into this AI-based tool, and they should just do that stuff for you. And that was something that always really motivated me. I feel that AI shouldn't help in closing deals. Humans need to close deals, right? Sales is human to human, and that's what we need to do. But getting your foot in the door, that's where AI and automation can really help. And that's something that I've grown obsessed with a little bit over the past few years, where I've always been looking to, that started with automated email campaigns, to then adding automated bits here and there when it comes to personalization. And I just took that further and further. I was lucky enough to meet my two co-founders, which is another long story for which we might need 5 more podcasts to go into how we met and how that all got together into what Lyne is now. But they were building something pretty similar, and yeah, we just connected, we hit it off, and I think what are we at, like 8 months later, this is where we are. And yeah, things are growing really rapidly, and it's pretty obvious looking at the product market fit that we've achieved that I wasn't the only one with that issue.
Yeah, for sure. Just to explain to viewers what Lyne is, kind of takes some sections on LinkedIn, such as interest, experience, skills, and stuff like that. And the AI part, if my understanding is correct, it helps phrase the right sentences. It puts that information together in a natural sounding way. So I guess there's NLP in there, so that when we send this text to the client, it sounds like, hey, John, love that you are supporting the Cancer Hospital for Children of Minnesota initiative. I have some things, I have some interest in that too. So it's like it kind of personalized a bunch of lines like that. And at the end, there's a call to action, or do we have to add the call to action ourselves?
Yeah, exactly. So what we do, we focus on one thing, and we try and do that really well, which is for a few reasons. So we personalize, let's say, 2 lines, two sentences, and you can use it as an intro, as you just mentioned yourself. So you could say like, "Hey, John, notice that you do this and that. That's really great." Or just read your case study when you work with Apple, or just I just listened to a podcast with Charles that you did where you talked about this and that. Really cool. By the way, this is what we do. Is that something that you're interested in? Yes or no? Thanks, Hans. Or my regular email saying, hey, John, this is what we do. Is that something you're interested in? Yes or no? Best, Hans. PS, just heard your podcast with Charles. That was really cool, where you talked about email and AI, yada, yada, yada. Which also flows really naturally. It's just up to you, whatever you feel, works best, test it out. Maybe, that personalized intro, some people feel, okay, you know what, people start recognizing it. Maybe let's move it to the PS. Whatever works for you. And that's what we provide. And the reason why we only provide those parts is because first of all, it's extremely hard to consistently have AI generate a cold email that is really good. And the thing is, that's where you want control as well, right? You either as a salesperson or an agency owner, you want to have control over what is in your actual email. You want to know, okay, this go in the email. Yeah, because you want to make sure there's nothing weird in there, pretty much nothing that could damage your brand or your company, but also because you want to know what works. So if you're sending out completely different emails to each and every person, you're never going to find out which version of your email works. That's why we're doing A/B testing in the first place, and not A, B, C, D, E, F, G testing. So you want to make sure that you're always sending 95% the same message with some personalized touches here and there. And then you can see, okay, this angle works or this angle doesn't work. And also for agency owners, they work with clients, and it's a bit of a hard sell when your client is going to ask you, okay, what will you be sending in my name to prospects? Well, we don't really know because that's up to AI. So what you could say is, we'll send this email, we'll use AI to add some personalized touches here and there. That's it. And then it becomes a lot more attractive to clients. And that's why we focus on just, adding those personalized touches to that email, making your life easier there.
Okay, yeah, that's understandable. Is the PS function launched? Did you launch the PS thing?
Yeah, definitely. So, the PS section is something that was already there from day one, where the input that we have, you can use that as it just depends where you put your merge tag, right? So your merge tag is Lyne in our case. So you have hi merge tag first name, comma merge tag Lyne, my email, or you have hi merge tag first name. This is what we do. Thanks, Hans. Merge tag Lyne. So that's one option. But then one thing that we've also recently launched is what we call no touch lines, and the name already says it all. We had a lot of people who said, like, listen, we didn't have the resources or the motivation, or we just don't really want to check and see, what the line looks like and where we can potentially put it. So what we did is we created no touch lines where you grab someone's LinkedIn profile, you give us a list of LinkedIn profiles, and we just look at the LinkedIn profiles, and based on that, we write up to 12 different personalization points, which are shorter, a little bit shorter on average than the other intros. And the thing is, they're always going to be the same exact quality. So there will always be an 8, but they will not ever be a 10, but also will not ever be a 5. So they're a little bit shorter. And they talk about like educational experience, personal awards, volunteer experience, or maybe something about a local observation. And these, again, you can use them as intros, but what we then do, we provide up to 12 different columns. And then we have a column called intro 1, then a column called PS1, a column called intro 2, a column called PS2. And those PS columns, they're even shorter. So notice you're located in Chicago, you big Cubs fan. I think Chicago Cubs, they're a team, right? So that would make for a pretty cool PS section where you have your normal email, or even in a follow-up, like, hey, Charles, just following up my last email. If you're still looking for a new podcast guest, let me know. If not, no hard feelings. Best Hans PS. Notice you're in Guadalajara right now. How's the altitude, for example? So that's what we provide there, which is just the results that we've seen are really, really, really extremely promising and good and exciting. We use them for our own campaigns, and they're performing better than I've ever seen personally.
When are you gonna have the email sending directly inside the platform, not depending on tool like Woodpecker and stuff?
I don't know. It's something that people have been asking, and I can definitely see why. I can definitely see the value there. So for now, we've decided to integrate with other tools because people, they already have their workflows, and maybe you have a bunch of seats there, and you're happy with how you use them, because let's face it, sending emails and getting them into the inbox and doing that and managing campaigns, that's a whole well, obviously is a whole product in itself and a whole skill in itself, and all that. So for the time being, we've decided, like, hey, listen, we'll focus on one thing and really making sure that we stay the best in the world at what we do before we start adding more stuff, like before we start taking on more stuff. But yeah, it's a requested future, and like, I'm not gonna lie, it's something that the idea excites me. It's just I'm not 100% sure if that's something that is in our near future.
Yeah, on the roadmap, will you be focusing on LinkedIn, scraping all the LinkedIn information? Have you maxed out this part of the roadmap? Where will you be focusing elements on the roadmap lately?
Sure. So I feel that right now it's what we offer is great, it's really cool, but it's a little bit, I think, cookie cutter, I think is the right term, where it either works, like you can either use it or you don't. And what would be really cool is if we can help people personalize their experience a lot more, where you could say, okay, you know what, I work in SEO and I want to build backlinks. Can you help me with that? Or actually, I work in sales, but this is what our cold email currently looks like, and I want to adapt it, to what we currently do, just without having humans do it. So that is something that we want to focus on, just really looking at what people are currently doing and tapping into that. So for us, it's really important that we look at what people are currently doing and build something based on that, instead of just sitting there and thinking, oh, you know what, let's build that. So we really want to look at how people are currently personalizing their emails and see how we can then potentially build our tool to make their lives easier when it comes to getting all that stuff done.
Okay, I understand that philosophy. You must be getting a bunch of SDR agency too, email outreach agency like mine. Lyne takes information of LinkedIn specifically. So coming back to my question, did you max out this part of the roadmap when it comes to scraping LinkedIn information? Where would you fetch the information? Because from a logical standpoint, the AI, yeah, it's complicated to make a natural sounding sentence, but it's also like where you get the information. So you name podcasts as well. That's pretty cool. You name blog. I'm not sure if they come from the actual website or if they come from LinkedIn. What other source would you go after?
Sure. So yes, we have a bunch of sources already. Like we even were able to find, like, imagine if you had a Substack newsletter that you published, then we're able to find that one, for example.
That's
podcast
cool.
appearances, if you have show notes in there with the name of your guest, we're able to find that. So yeah, we're always thinking about new sources. I feel we're somewhat close to being maxed out. The thing is, like social media engagement, maybe like, hey, saw you comment on this or that post, which is a
Okay.
little bit of a different use case, but it's
On
potentially
LinkedIn or like also
yeah,
tweets most probably.
exactly. Like your most popular, like, well, the two most popular probably, which well, most popular, I'm not sure Facebook is still up there, but in our
Yeah.
case, probably not too relevant. But yeah,
Yeah.
LinkedIn and Twitter. Yeah, so if we, in the end, sales all about relevancy, right? So it will be cool if we can add some relevancy in there. And yeah, again, super open to suggestions. There, if people mention, okay, we've been using this as a source and it's working great, because yeah, to answer, like, the short answer would be yes. I feel that we're pretty getting somewhat close to maxing out on those sources. But then again, we have a lot of really cool other ideas and features that we're releasing that are going to be super specific to other use cases like SEO, for example. And
Got it.
yeah, there's still a million and one things that we want to do. But obviously the sources where you can look at, they're going to be limited.
So SEO seems to be a good part of your clientele. What percentage of your clientele are these SEO backlink and exchange companies? Like 20, 25% of your clientele?
No, honestly, it's not that big of a share yet, but I do see the potential there. That's why, that's one thing that I keep bringing up is, plus also is an easy example because, before I jumped in here, I've been working on our SEO all day, so it's top of mind right now. But
Yeah.
no, we definitely do have some LinkedIn or some SEO outreach, some link building agencies on there.
Yeah.
And so there's just that's I can see a lot of use cases there. So that's one that I'm really looking to tackle. And it's something that people absolutely hate doing that manual outreach,
Yeah.
looking, for relevant backlinks and going into Ahrefs and generating these reports and checking comparative backlinks and see which ones maybe are dead or maybe that. It's a lot of work,
Yeah.
and I'm also doing that, and that will be next step because I'm doing that. And then you're full circle again. Now I'm doing that type of outreach, whereas before I was doing a lot more sales type outreach,
Yeah.
and now we can then potentially automate this bit as well.
Got it. When will you have an Apollo integration?
That depends. So the thing is, Apollo's API is only for people who pay for the yearly plan, so people who fork out a pretty big amount. And their rate limits are pretty low, so you would have to request manual rate, you would have to request custom rate limits to then sync whatever you generate in Line to sync that back into Apollo. It's on our radar. I know some people who are somewhat tech savvy, they've built something pretty similar themselves. But
Okay.
to be honest, what we'll probably release before that is a Zapier integration,
Okay.
where in that case, then you'll be able to build anything that you want pretty much.
Okay. Pretty cool. I want to talk about the pricing a little bit. So the basic plan is 20 cents per credit, right? So one credit being every time we demand line for a line, basically a personalized line.
Yeah.
20 cents per line, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I know there's options for short lines and long lines. Typically, the long line is around 4 to 5 sentences, we could say, and the short one is like 1 or 2.
Sorry, would you repeat that last bit? The
Yeah,
last question?
there's a short line and a bigger line, correct, in your tool? So one that is like 1 or 2 line, and the second, which is 4 to 5 lines in
Yeah,
one
there
block.
was. So we had that option. We had, let's say, a regular one and a short one. So
Yeah.
we had the short one for specifically for LinkedIn outreach, but we sort of merged those two. And now our average character count is around 170-ish characters. Whereas,
Okay.
your LinkedIn cap is 300, so you're still able to use those for LinkedIn.
Okay.
Plus, like I mentioned earlier, the PS columns that we're generating right now, they are a bit shorter, so the average character limit is even lower there. So you still have, let's say, 200-ish characters for your LinkedIn message.
Okay. So 170 character, that must be like 1 or 2 sentences, correct?
Yeah, exactly. It's 2 sentences.
Okay. All right. Okay, so 20 cents per that, and like you're kind of competing against, a virtual assistant, which can be probably like $3 an hour. So like five lines, it's around like 15 lines to equal one virtual assistant, correct? Per hour, I mean.
I mean, more or less. So yeah, if you're gonna start comparing to $3 per hour virtual assistant,
Yeah.
then you could argue on our absolute lowest plan that might be a bit, that might be more or less the same. Then the simple answer there would be like, hey, get more credits, get a higher plan. But also my point is, yeah, you could get a higher plan, but then your operation becomes a lot more scalable, doesn't it? Where you then have that one virtual assistant who operates a tool, and it's as if they're operating an entire army of virtual assistants. So instead of, like, I know a company, they came in when they had about a headcount of 20, and they scaled down to 7, I think, or 6. So so then that way you just have a virtual assistant and managing that, plus then everything was more predictable and more scalable, where now you know exactly, okay, this is going to be the quality of Lyne. So you'll never have to check your humans, or maybe a human leaves or goes on holidays, you have to hire someone. Yeah, you could have really great hiring processes where you already know, okay, this person is good enough, and then they go through the training and they're always going to be good enough. However, with Lyne, you don't have to do all that. You know exactly output will always be this. So okay, now if I send 1,000 emails on average, I will book 15, 20 demos. You know what? I also know I have this many credits. I can take on this many clients, and you can just really predictably scale your agency without that headache of having to manage the human workforce and payroll and holidays and training and onboarding and having a manager for your workforce and handling all of that pretty much.
Got it. Can you enlighten me on the Lyne VS email plan? So like what's the, if I choose okay, I think I understand. Well, there's Lyne, and then you can choose your credit. So let's 100 credit per month. Okay, so it's like 25 VS if I buy them in bulk for 2,500. Okay, I've been testing Lyne quite extensive. Well, not extensively, but yeah, quite a bit back in days. Say 20 cents per credits. We sent 100, I think, and we got like one meeting out of it. So like that, yeah, if you do times 100, that's $20. I think I have like similar commission structure with my guys that do things manually. That they get paid per meeting and per closing, which came to a similar cost. So I guess I need to buy a bit more lines, more credits to get like a clear ROI. For me, like Lyne is still not a no-brainer. For example, like Apollo is from a price standpoint. That's my feeling as an agency owner. I do think it would be very, very interesting when it comes to scalability, and especially if it's integrated with like my existing tools, right, where I can just like make automated campaigns and Lyne would send them automatically. So that has been my feeling with Lyne. Obviously, if there's a higher conversion rate, I think it would be more interesting. I don't know why it didn't convert it that much. That was my question, because I did expect way more conversions with the personalized Lyne, and it wasn't because of a spam perspective. Was it because a bunch of people were doing it? I don't think so either, because the tool is not that popular right now. But yeah,
popular,
like,
don't get me wrong.
yeah, the 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 success rate wasn't as expected. Typically, like I'm gonna ask you this question first. Like, how many like agency like mine do you have as client, or in percentage? Are we like 5% of your client base, 10%?
I would say agencies, and so I'll answer that and not jump. I'll just go over what you mentioned just now really quick. So I would say agencies make up about 25-30%,
Okay,
probably a bit higher, or share, honestly, let's say closer to 40. So you have obviously bigger agencies and there are smaller ones. And then, yes, so on a test of 100, back in the day, obviously we've been improving a lot since then. So for our own campaigns, we've noticed that for every, let's say, 15, maybe 20 emails that we send out, we book one demo. Then again, I feel that for us, it's a little bit more of a no-brainer when you're pitching it to like SDRs or SDR managers or sales managers, VP of sales. Then they want to take a look, they're interested. So it does obviously depend on a lot of other factors that I have no idea what your test look like for which type of client, maybe for yourself, I don't know. So I would most definitely encourage you to, with our latest updates, to run another test on a bit of a bigger sample. Plus, what we've seen, the biggest increase in, let's say, demos booked, positive responses, was when you do what I just mentioned, where you have maybe a personalized intro, personalized PS section. Then on your first follow-up, you add a personalized PS section. So you start, personalize your entire sequence. So that's definitely something I can recommend testing as well. And then, to become even more of a no-brainer, I cannot drop too many spoilers here. But let's just say that we're really, really close to pushing an update that should really put us in that segment is the best word I can come up with right now, where pricing wise will most definitely be a no-brainer. And we're working on releasing an API again. When still dropped a spoiler that my co-founders might hate me for dropping, but what can I say? Also depends obviously on when this podcast will be released or when this interview will be released. So we're working on a public
in a
API
couple of
again.
weeks, so we should be good. And
worst
case scenario, your co-founders are gonna be pissed at you and gonna have a lot of pressure. So
exactly. But yes, so we'll have an API again where they will ideally plug it into Zapier. But then again, with an API, anyone will be able to build anything that they want. You can build your own entire custom bot workflow where everything is just 100% fully automated, pretty much.
Yeah, for me, the no-brainer would definitely be the Apollo integration, where I could put automatically in my follow-ups, line tags, and I mean that Lyne would take care of the rest, So would be
Yeah,
a
good.
combination of like first name and the company tags that we already have in Apollo, the industry, job title, website, whatever, and then the line personalization. The podcast
Mhm.
is really interesting. The blog also shows that we kind of did our research, and
Mhm.
that would be in the CRM, obviously. So I would click and I would see, yeah, like the podcast we're referring about, the blog. So that would make it a no-brainer, and glad to hear that, the pricing and stuff and the next update will be exciting. So I'll
Mhm.
definitely tell my VP sales to check it out again. Not sure how
Yeah.
much time you have left. I have a couple of more minutes, but I want to ask you, um, what's the future of sales, AI, bots? Where do you see the world going in 10, 20, and 50 years, respectively? You can take the
Mhm.
question from this perspective.
Sure. So 50 years, that is that almost scares me to think about that. We all make the jokes where you start beaming your pitch directly into someone's brain chip or whatever.
Yeah.
Like who knows at what level we'll be communicating in 50 years. But like I already said earlier, I do feel that sales will and should always be human to human. Yeah, I love automation and bots and AI, and I really flipping love it. But again, that is to work as a human more productively, but also to get your foot in the door where just AI should at that point just be. I feel that intent data should hopefully be a lot better. I think maybe some things that are holding that back right now is are from a privacy perspective and a data sharing perspective, which is obviously something that could work against that. So right now, what is pitched as intent data is basically this company scraping LinkedIn jobs and seeing that yeah they're hiring for this role, so reach out. But hopefully that is something that can be developed even further. And then, with intent, with real intent, you can be even more relevant because again, sales is all about relevancy. And then, yeah, use AI to get your foot in the door there. Use AI to work even more predictive, to work even more productively. Have AI tapped into everything, into your CRMs, into everything, where you're able to pull in as much relevant information as possible. And then, as a human, decide is this relevant or not. And just as a human, use AI to just be more relevant. We're already using it where AI is suggesting types like certain articles when you're reaching out to an old lead saying, hey, we have this article that could be interesting to you. We have this article in our knowledge base that could be interesting to you. And people always get this, dirty feeling like, oh, AI sales shouldn't be mixed and it's all about humans. Yes, I agree, but you want to be more productive, right? And you use flipping autocorrect on your phone when you're texting people. Why not use something really similar when you're reaching out to someone? It will tell you, hey, why not mention this? Because actually this is super relevant to that person. So that's where I feel, over the next, I mean, if I have my way over the next year, that will already be there. But in 10 years, yeah, that will most definitely be there. People will just be more happy, more efficient, and be able to just reach out in a relevant way, which from a buyer perspective is just a lot more, it's just a lot better as well, a lot more
Yeah.
fun as well, pretty much. I mean, yeah, the way that we're buying changes where you want to have more control, but then if you're getting less irrelevant pitches, you're going to be happier, and the people who actually reach out, you're going to have that way. Help in actually generating and actually setting up really good human relationships because it can help you be more relevant. So that's where I feel over the next few years will hopefully go. And at the rapid pace everything is changing, 20 or 50 years, I feel way out of my depth to answer that one, honestly.
Yeah, who knows, Neuralink and stuff. Um, Coming to the ethics of the thing, I think, well, if you don't know that like AI and automation is in sales in 2021, I think you're kind of backwards in your mentality as a buyer. I
Mhm.
think it is the duty always not to lie and to tell, like, look, yes, I use XYZ software. The buyer's advantage, when it comes to these type of tech, like I said, um, is that me, like, especially if I book a lot of meetings, which is my case, I don't have time to look people up, one by one. And actually, these types of tools make me serve them better. because right before the interview, I will listen to that podcast, I will listen to that blog. Well,
Mm,
if I didn't have that tech, I wouldn't, and I would be less informed and be less apt to serve them. Yesterday, I downloaded this little app, intro.so. They're on Product Hunt too,
mm,
and it's quite cool. And there's a bunch of apps like that. They're not the only one. There's a bunch of Zoom integrations as well that give you the info of the person prior to the meeting. And
mm,
for me as a sales guy, it's important to have their information, whether a bot is inside it or not. I think just manipulation is to be avoided, generally speaking, in sales, but
mm.
tools that give us information, and especially if you have a great product. I mean, sales is, it's just like technology, right? If it is well used for good purposes, it's good. If your
Yeah,
product is shit and you don't have anything to offer, then yeah, it becomes bad. Same for tech, like terrorists
exactly.
use Facebook, just like charities use Facebook. So it just depends on who you are and how you use it. But yeah, this is an interesting perspective. I do think that automation and AI is already part of our sales world, and it's going to be more and more the case, and I think that people don't adapt to technology, just like people that don't adapt to pretty much everything, they'll just kind of fade away, and that's bad. I hope they kind of adapt to the whole market. And yeah,
Mm.
Line is a pretty cool idea. I think you guys use GTP3, right?
Yeah, we started out using GPT-3. We're now moving towards building our own AI models. So we built a bunch of models on top of that,
Okay.
and that's something that we're moving towards too.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Open AI and Sam Altman and Elon, pretty
Yeah,
cool
yeah,
people.
yeah,
um
definitely, definitely.
All right. Hans, it's been pretty good to speak to you. This
Same
is
here.
the end of the podcast. I'll just send you the recording whenever it is done. I'll
Mhm.
try to not release it too quick so that you have time to release the new functions. I'll give
Yeah, yeah.
another try to Lyne. I'll tell my VP to try it again. And
Mhm.
yeah, I can't wait for the next stage of deployment, because I think it can be something really interesting.
Cool. Definitely. No, I appreciate that. There on that part, we're definitely on the same page where I feel that, we're already something really interesting and we're about to become something that I feel every salesperson should have in their tech stack.
Yeah.
And yes, send your VP of sales my way, or anyone else who's listening to this, just mention that you've listened to the podcast and we'll hook you up with a special deal.
Okay, man. Thank you,
All
Hans.
right. Thanks for your time.
Have
Bye
a good
bye.
day, buddy. Bye.